Welcome to Makers International, a podcast of makers from 3 countries, 2 continents, and featuring 5 guys separated only by the same language. Here's your host, Richard Morley.
Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, good times, whatever time it is, wherever you're listening. Joined with me, as always, Mr. Chris Cute.
How you doing, everybody?
And Mr. Alan Robinson.
How you doing, fellas?
Joe can't make it this week because apparently he's got internet problems.
Right.
But snurgling around in the bushes with grass in his hat, waiting to ambush peaceful woodworkers with some kind of scroll saw-based challenge, it's Jamie Page.
Scroll saw.
We've also, as you know, we have our special guest this evening, Chris from Third Coast Creations. Hi, Chris.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. We've got a few things to run through, as always, so we will be right back at you and hopefully Oots as well in just a second. But we'll do our quick shout-outs and thank yous, and they are, this week, we have Heath Knuckles, Crosscut Creations, Alex 2Q, Paul Wilmore from Wilmore's World of Wood, Jim Dockrell, Steve French from Wooden Stuff, Gerard the Redsmith, and Chad, our last week's guest from Man Crafting. Also, big shout out, thank you to everyone who hit the like button over on YouTube and all our other social medias, got in touch and all the rest of it. Don't forget, we're also on iTunes, so if you fancy heading on over there and giving us a rating, that would be cool. Today's podcast is brought to you in part by the Toolmasters Association. Save, build and learn. To find out more about the Toolmasters Association and to sign up today, visit www.izzyswan.com/Toolmasters. And also by Yorkshire Grit, the wood turner's abrasive paste. For more information, visit yorkshire-grit.com.
And for Makers Central, and for more information on the event and to buy your tickets, go to makerscentral.co.uk. And to be a real maker and to get your man crafting mug, head over to mancraftingtm.com. And while we're on the subject of the man crafting mug, it is our 1-year anniversary this year.
Hey!
So,
hey, it's our one. This is our 1 year. 1 year ago today, we all got together and decided to screw up the internet. That's just
didn't we?
Unbelievable.
Make it a worse place.
And you know what? Joe didn't even show up for the embarrassment. Thanks, Joe.
Yeah. That's certainly right. So, in response to that, we're doing a giveaway. So,
Nice.
you have your chance to win a personalised man crafting mug with the Makers International logo on it, as well as the man crafting logo on it. So, what I'm going to do is, there's 2 ways you can win this. You can either go over to the Facebook page, which will take you to a link to the Makers International website, which is makersinternationalpodcast.com. And if you go to scroll down on the homepage, right to the very, very bottom, there will be a link there that you just click on, and it will take you to a Gleamo app where you can submit your entry. When you log in, it will ask you for your name and your email address. That's just so we can contact you after the entry is drawn. The contest ends next Saturday, so we can announce a winner on next week's podcast. Okay.
Excellent.
So, Richard, back to you.
That's going to be that.
I'm just going to go and post the link on Facebook now, so you can start entering as soon as you like.
Ace, that's got to be the longest sponsorship thing on the internet ever. I think it's still pretty cool. Chris, how are you?
I'm doing good. I'm glad to be here, guys. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. And it's been a year. We'd have thought it'd be more difficult getting people on after, presumably you've seen a few shows, and why would you want to come on there, be with us, bunch of lunatics?
No, I actually enjoy quite a bit of your channels and stuff, so I thought this was going to be an awesome opportunity. I've enjoyed listening to it. You have some good people on.
But it's a bit weird, I have to say. But it is fun. I think the others will say that it's fun as well, presumably because, why else would we be here for a year?
Well, well, hold on. Honestly, Chris, we came to the realization real early on that if we just left it up to ourselves and we didn't have these interesting people on, we would be screwed. So,
well, there's me trying to tiptoe around that issue, and Chris just comes driving straight through.
That's why you're on with us today. So hurry up and be interesting. Go.
Do a dance.
Yeah. We don't care. Whatever works. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Richard. I apologize.
Well, I was just going to pass over to Alan, because I think Alan normally likes to kick us off with our first question for our interesting guests.
Age-old origin question. Yeah, Chris, I want to get into YouTube later on in the show, but I want you to take us back now to the beginning, like how you started woodworking and how old you were, and just the whole origin story behind Chris. I don't know how to pronounce your last name. The whole origin behind Chris.
Chris Schoenberg. Yeah.
Schoenberg, thank you.
It all kind of started with my grandpa, and my grandpa was honestly a master woodworker, and he probably the first project I ever did with him was a fishing pole rack, and I actually have it on the other side of the garage over there. I'd show you, but it's all cluttered.
Wow.
I made that back in, I think, middle school, and so I went over to his shop many times, and I would build projects with him. And then about 2 winters ago, I build all sorts of things throughout the years. I never really had any of my own stuff. And then about 2 winters ago, he passed away, and I wasn't able to really get any of his tools. I just got a couple things. I got a couple hand planes and a couple clamps and things like that. But he, being such an honorable man, didn't really want to give me all of his tools because he didn't think it'd be fair to the rest of the family. So, and they auctioned it all off and everything like that. But for whatever reason, after he had passed away, I kind of really just went headfirst into woodworking on my own journey. And I started gathering my own tools. For whatever reason, I really fell in love with like hand tools. My grandpa was kind of like a power tool guy. But yeah, that's it started with my grandpa, and he's somebody who I idolize. He's my hero. That generation that when they did a project or they did any kind of work, they just put everything into it, and they didn't walk away from something unless it was done properly. So I kind of really try to hold those values that he instilled in me and through my woodworking and stuff like that. So yeah, I guess that's kind of my grandpa's where it's all started, and that's where I get a lot of my inspiration and woodworking love is through him. That's awesome.
So what about? I mean, you talk about your grandfather. Was your father a woodworker or interested in it, or did it kind of skip a generation? Because
I don't want to throw my dad under the bus, but that man, and I love him, and I don't know if he'll ever watch this or not, but that man doesn't have a mechanical bone in his body. He doesn't have a woodworking bone in his body. Like, they got to call me over to hang blinds and stuff. Like, he absolutely cannot do anything that has even remotely to do with cars or wood or anything like that. So yes, it totally skipped a generation, and it's something that it was like definitely a grandpa in my thing. And I have special things with my dad, like music and baseball, stuff like that. But yeah, my God, he cannot handle a tool or fix anything. Poor man.
Chris, I got to tell you, it doesn't always skip a generation, because my
I hope not, because I have a son. And
no, I'm serious, because my father was a woodworker. I don't know that he was as accomplished as your grandfather, but he was a woodworker. My grandfather was a machinist. My oldest brother knows his way around a screwdriver, but my middle brother, I don't think he could hang a picture. I really don't. So it's like, I don't know. Somehow some of these guys just missed that whole gene episode, I guess.
I can't believe it's so bad with him.
That's funny, though.
Just thinking about this, and it's never occurred to me before, but there's more than one thing that we do with our parents, generally.
Yes.
So, some things you go with and some things you don't, and it just happens to be that one interest is the way you go and not the other one, and all the rest of it, I think. So, yeah, that was just curious anyway, because sometimes it follows on all the way down the line.
Yes,
That's
so
funny.
Yeah, my dad calls me to do stuff as well, and I don't know. It's not that I don't think they can't do it. I think they just, as they get older, they get wiser, and they suddenly realise, why? Why do I need to? There's somebody who'll do it for me. Exactly.
I have a child.
Yeah. Spare kidney, hang the blinds, that's what they're
mow
for.
the lawn. I can't wait for mine to get old enough to mowing the lawn. God, I hate that.
So who's smart and who's the idiot?
Excellent.
Too funny.
I noticed. I mean, I actually found your YouTube channel through a journey down one of the rabbit holes. I was looking at something else, and then I found your hand plane videos. And I think in the background on the shelf, I can see
they're up there
closely. Yeah, the marble wood plane there, and also the little block plane as well. I love those videos. Why make the tools? Is it like I'm making things and I like hand tools, so it kind of is logical, or because you've also got a lot of this kind of Stanley, the metal hand planes.
I kind of got addicted to making hand tools when I needed a shoulder plane. And here, let's see if I can grab it without losing you guys. Oh no!
The laptop.
Here it is.
Workshop.
My very first tool that I made was this little shoulder plane, and I was doing a project where I needed to do some rabbits and stuff like that. So Paul Sellers has a nice little video where he shows you how to do it. I kind of just dressed it up a little bit, but this was my first hand tool, and after building that and watching it work and take shavings, I was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. That's so cool. And I just really enjoyed that. So since then, you'll notice I had some hand plane video, not hand planes, some mallet videos. My latest one that's done really, really well. And those hand planes, there's something extra. I love using hand tools, but there's something really rewarding when, I can build a tool and it works really well, and then actually use it. That's just another kind of level of enjoyment to the whole woodworking process to me. And I just kind of I got several really nice pieces of exotic hardwoods over there that I just want to make. I want to make hand planes all day long, but eventually that's going to get old for people. So I got a lot of other projects and stuff too. So
well, Chris, let me interrupt you just for the people that are going to be listening to us on iTunes and also on SoundCloud that won't be able to see what you were just holding up.
Shoot.
No, that's all right. He was basically holding up a wooden plane that looked like a shoulder plane that he had made, but it was a wooden plane. And by the looks of it, Chris, it looks like you made that out of oak, was it?
Yep, it's oak, and the little wedge was cherry, I think.
Nice. Anyways, okay, go ahead. I just got to remember sometimes this is a podcast and people just can't see what we're doing. Anyway,
you're right. I got to keep that in mind. It's like when I listen to comedy channels in my truck, and some of the comedians are doing actions and part of their skit, and I'm just like, I wish I could see what they were doing right now and laugh along with the crowd.
No, but that's awesome. I think anybody listening will get the idea.
Cool. And do you? Some of the ones I've watched, you've bought the kits, the sort of the kind of the metal work hardware for the planes. Have you ventured into forging your own irons or anything like that? Or
I have not. That's a wormhole that I would love to go down. Metalworking, and I don't know the first thing about welding and metalworking. It's something that it's very complementary to woodworking, I think, and could be very beneficial to me. But I just it's something that I will do sometime, but I'm just in my little half a car garage right now, and my wife would kill me if I started another hobby. So I bought those kits. I bought the first kit from Lee Valley, and I really enjoyed it. So you can have it's not completely a traditional build of a wooden hand plane where you actually chisel out a body out of a solid blank. You cut off the cheeks and shoulders and you kind of glue them back together. But it's a really nice kit that allows you to have a beautiful wood body plane. And wood planes burnish the wood too when you're planing, which is a nice extra feature. So you get just a glass smooth finish, but it also has that kind of new mechanism so that you can really easily adjust the iron rather than taking the hammer. And I have some old wood planes, and I use those. I break those out, but it's just like the best of both worlds. So I like that kit a lot, and I'll probably do some more with that for sure.
Oh, nice.
With you mentioning the hand planes and things like that, I was watching your video where you actually had a shave with a plane blade, and just before the show we was talking about being an inspiration for Richard, and I was actually thinking that Richard could do the same but with a router.
I think that's a really good idea because Richard, you are very skilled with the router. I think you could do it.
Man. And see, we also had the discussion beforehand where Chris was going, I thought it was you guys that picked on Jamie. Well, you've just now discovered
I told you once a year.
Jamie's inviting Richard to put a router up to his face. I mean, I don't think so.
Let's see how good Richard really is.
I think I'm going to have to pass on that one, Jamie.
Really? Not so
Richard,
good then, right?
If you want to go viral, you got to go big. So, I mean, that might be good.
I tell you what, Richard, go ahead and accept the challenge as soon as Jamie decides to shave his face with a jointer.
I mean, in theory, does it count as a shave if I actually take vast chunks of the side of my head off?
Technically, sure.
Technically, this is
If the hair's gone, then I guess it's a shave. I guess.
Yeah.
What's left behind is
it's a bone and stuff with it.
Not the cleanest shave, but it's a shave.
Oh my God, that was so painful.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to pass on that one, Jamie.
Richard doing a live from A&E.
Yeah. That would make an Instagram story and a half, wouldn't it? But
I just had this vision of Jamie circumcising himself with a scroll saw.
Oh my God!
Yeah, that could work. That could work.
Yeah, because it shouldn't take a very large blade. I mean, let's be honest.
Right. Well, I'm going to grow up now. Let's all get back on track. And speaking of growing up, that was something I wanted to ask you about, Chris. As you were, you said about woodworking in middle school. How much? I mean, did you take shop classes and follow it through at school?
I did take a woodworking class in high school, and but as far as after high school, I went out. I joined the Air Force, and I was out west in North Dakota for several years, and didn't do any woodworking, and I didn't do really much when I got back for several years, and it really wasn't until my father-in-law asked me to build him a bench that I had done a project, and it was would have been 3 winters ago. So that was the last project I went out and I did with my grandpa in his shop, and it was something that it was really hold dear to myself, and I really wish I would have done more. But I really, until I kind of got here and my grandpa passed, I really hadn't done a ton. I kind of had a good knack for it. I was, I've always kind of been mechanically inclined, and I kind of have this attention to detail mind. So I'm really kind of I really am, I guess, anal about I really want nice tight fitting joints, and I really work hard at that kind of thing. So I don't know. It just, when he passed, it really kind of launched me kind of into my own journey. And like I said, he only did power tool stuff for the most part. So I went to the local library and I got every book I could read. I spent just countless hours on YouTube, just consuming as much as I could, and then I would just practice it. I just started with cheap tools that I could afford, and slowly got little bits here and there as I went along. And
so you're fairly kind of, it's almost a recent start to this journey in terms of, I mean, three winters, 3 years. That's after.
I would say. Right. Yeah, I would say, honestly, really more like a year and a half, 2 years here, kind of in the direction that I've been going, kind of with the hand tools, and without my grandpa's, leadership and coaching, and just doing it on my own. It's been a relatively short period of time, for sure.
Yeah. But, No, I've just lost my train of thought there.
No, but Chris, you obviously had been dabbling for quite some time before you actually decided to say, you know what, I'm going to take this serious and try to make something that's really nice. And most people do. It's it's kind of like my gripe about how people say there's such thing as overnight successes, and there's a lot of work that goes in behind the scenes of an overnight success. And leading up to where you are today, there was probably a lot of things that you did, even though you weren't even really quote unquote trying, that you have done that actually helped you to get to where you are today. So it's not like you picked up the craft a year and a half ago and boom, here you are. I mean, you've been kind of working at it for a while. All right, good.
Sure. I've just remembered. You just reminded me where I was headed, Chris. You're talking about your sort of attention to detail and all the rest of it. I think that's a trait which can accelerate the learning process. Because when you get stuck in that mindset of, oh, I'm only learning, so I'll let myself off with that. We're always saying we're our worst critics, and I think if you temper that sort of not happy with a particular thing and work on it, then that accelerates it. Otherwise, you kind of, I think, plateau or run the risk of plateauing early on and thinking that what's acceptable is acceptable when somebody else might not. That was where I was heading with that, and then that was going to head into obviously the success that you're having with your channel. So, well, you said you were in the Air Force.
Yep.
So that was straight out of school, was it?
Yep, that was out of high school. Yeah, I kind of made that decision. I graduated in 2004, and and as you probably all know, even our foreign friends here, in 2001 when 9/11 happened, and I kind of had it right in my mind then and there. I was like, okay, I'm joining the military, and I'm gonna combat this stuff. And so yeah, I kind of had I knew I was going to the Air Force. I think that was my sophomore year or whatever, or freshman year, and so that's kind of what I ended up doing for sure.
Well, Chris, I'm going to probably tell you something that I know you don't know, but you were stationed in the Dakotas, were you not?
Yes, I was.
What Air Force base were you at?
Minot.
No, I'm laughing. I'm laughing because my middle brother, the guy I told you didn't know how to hang a picture. He's 20 years retired from the Air Force, and he most likely fed you when you were at Minot because he was in charge of the mess there. Yep, sure was.
I tell you what, the food in the Air Force is pretty damn good.
Yeah, that's what he keeps telling me, but I'll be damned if he can make spaghetti. I mean, no, and Chris, I knew that just because we'd gotten the information on you beforehand, and I looked into it, and I went, oh my God, my brother fed this guy when he was there.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
That's funny. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. And I'm glad it was good. I'm glad you thought it was good.
Yeah. All the other branches would always complain about how good the Air Force's food was, and it was, when I was first an airman right on base, you have to live on base for a year or whatever, and so you basically eat in that chow hall or whatever every day, and yeah, it's pretty good food. Yeah, for sure. Not bad.
There's a similar thing in the UK with the RAF food and like the Army and the Navy and all this. And I've fed in RAF messes a lot over the years, and it was always a lot better. A lot better. But I think a lot of it's
money. The Air Force.
Well, I think a lot of it's to do with they're cooking for less people. I think has a lot to do with it.
I thought they ate paste out of a bag.
That, and you're not cooking it in a wood somewhere in the middle of the night out of a foil packet. That also.
I don't know what I've seen in movies.
Cockpits.
So what did you do? So you've now left the Air Force, presumably.
Yes.
Are you making YouTubing full time, or are you working another job to basically pay for this addiction?
Tools? I wish I could do this full time. I work full time I work at a university here in Michigan, I'm in the public safety department, and I am going to school full time. Well, not full time, I should say, part time. I'm in my master's right now, and so. Yeah, I feel overwhelmed. I didn't really when I started the YouTube journey, I didn't realize how much work filming and editing and everything was going to be. But I'm enjoying it. So let's hope here's to me being able to keep going because I do enjoy it, but it's a lot of work.
Well, awesome, Chris. Let me get to know you a little bit better. What are you mastering in?
Business administration. My undergrad's in finance, and so I get free tuition at Davenport. So that's where the university I work is Davenport University, and so that's why I'm kind of staying where I'm at right now, is because you can't turn down free school. no, especially considering the rates for college loans. I hear you. Yes.
Well, you mentioned that you were married. You got any kids?
Yeah, I just had I had our first kid 8 weeks ago, so I also have a newborn at home, and that is definitely.
Congratulations, man!
Thank you, I appreciate that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So when do you sleep?
It's tough. It's tough. Yeah, I come home.
You got about twice as much going on as me, and I don't sleep. So
Yeah.
when are you doing it?
My wife's been a saint with letting me come home and spend a couple hours out in the shop, while she takes care of the baby. And
Behind every good man is an even better woman. But how long ago did you start your YouTube channel?
Well, about honestly, it's funny. So I think it was like 4 or 5 years ago, I had built some truck bed drawers for my truck. And I threw those videos up on YouTube. They're like on my cell phone in a dark barn. The audio is terrible. I say like every other word. It just god awful videos. And I just left them alone. And I don't know even why I put them on there. And several months back, I kind of looked on there and I was like, oh my God, the part 1 video had like 200,000 views. And I was like, geez, if I would have monetize that, I'd probably had like $1,000 or whatever. And so I kind of decided at that point that I would maybe start doing YouTubes. And I was very naive, and I thought, wow, this is going to be easy, because I watched guys like Wrangler Star and other woodworking videos. I was like, I can contribute in this way. I can do like product reviews, and I can do woodworking techniques and stuff like that. And boy, was I went in for a rude awakening. So like I think in February is when I kind of made the decision I'm going to like put some effort into making a YouTube channel. And the first video I did was like how to true up a combination square. And it was terrible. It was on my phone as well. And I don't know, I kind of stumbled around, and I was like, wow, that only got Wrangler Star's video got like 150,000 views. Mine got like 6 views. Why is that?
It doesn't really work like that.
Yeah. So I dove in, and I really spent a lot of time trying to learn like what YouTube was all about. And I didn't have a clue about videography and editing video and how important audio was. So I really just kind of consumed myself, just like I did my woodworking stuff before that, onto how to learn this stuff. And it's been a lot of learning. And I started doing, I think where it really kicked off was when I made the videos on these Japanese style bookshelves. I'd seen a picture, I had Googled one time Japanese style bookshelf, and there's one on there that looked really cool to me, and it looks very similar to the one that I made. And when I made that video, it did really well. And so a bunch of subscriptions started coming in. I think in July, I had like 600 subscribers. And after that video, it went up to maybe like 2,000. And then I was like, wow, look at this. This is great. And a lot of encouraging comments. And then I started trying to do more videos. And I kind of came up with the formula that in order to really like do good, what I thought how I would do good on YouTube was to make really kind of unique, cool, impressive projects, try to use hand tools as much as I could. I thought that might be a good formula. And so that's what I've been trying to do. And it's, some videos are good, some aren't, like everybody knows, but it's been quite the journey so far. So I don't know what's going to happen ahead.
Your work really shows through. It really does. You've come a long way in a very, very short time. I noticed last Sunday you got 1,500 subscribers in one day.
Let's see. Yeah, I think that was probably in the first couple days of that was mallet videos.
Yeah, 80,000 views.
Yeah, I know. That's
like
awesome.
You know how hard it is to take a mallet video and have it go viral. Everybody has a mallet video.
I know it.
Or three in my case.
Well, Speak for yourself, Alan.
I have 3. Do you want one of them, Chris? You can have one.
I'll take one if it'll give me 80,000 views. Why not?
You can upload the first. It's terrible. Don't worry. It's yours.
Hey, Chris, Charles Deering is out in the chat. He wants to know, do you have any passions outside of what you're known for?
I do, big time.
What do you got? And thank you.
I'm a very avid fly fisherman. I love fly fishing. This time of year is like the golden season for steelhead and trout and stuff like that. And there's fall salmon coming in. So in Michigan, which is a fly fisherman's paradise, I'm definitely spoiled here. Another huge passion of mine is, I would say, bird hunting, but more so upland bird hunting. Oots, my dog that you guys see in my videos, he primarily is my bird dog. And in the fall, coming up here again, I do a lot of pro-guided trips. There's a place, actually, I'll be putting a video out here in the next probably couple days. I'm done editing. I just built my kind of first sign for this place called Pine Hill Sportsman's Club, which is about an hour from me. And I guide there probably like 10, 20 trips a fall and winter with oots for clients all over the place. And this place is an awesome preserve, and the owner has become a good friend of mine. And so I built him this sign to kind of replace the one that he has out there that's kind of weathered and pretty beat up. So yeah, I'm excited about that. And yeah, like so fly fishing and upland hunting, and I dabble with the guitar from time to time, but yeah.
Well, that's awesome. You obviously know your way around the area very well. How long have you lived there, Chris?
I was born in Michigan. I went to the Air Force and then came back. So I've pretty much been here my entire life. And
so, I mean, if I wanted to go up there and hire you as a guide, you wouldn't get me lost. I mean, you know where you're going, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Generally helpful.
Yeah, that's always nice when you can get back to your trucking. Right?
That'd be kind of nice. I mean, because I no offense to you, but I don't want to get stuck in the woods fly fishing and hunting with you.
No, it's not fun. It's not fun.
While you are fly fishing, boxers or briefs?
Doesn't matter how many episodes.
Did you ask something like that last episode?
He has asked that 52 times.
52
He waits for his chance every episode.
And he figures out a new way to ask it every freaking time. You got to answer it, Chris. You just haven't been on the show unless you do.
Oh, let's see. Probably boxer briefs. I don't really, you know what I'm talking about, like the tight fitting boxers.
No.
Yeah. Sorry for the details. Yeah.
You don't have to be honest,
Okay.
Yeah. You can lie.
Briefs.
You can lie like everybody else does and just say commando. I mean, it's.
I missed it. I missed my chance.
I don't think Chad was lying.
You know what? I don't think Chad was lying last week either. I think Chad is a commando kind of guy.
He did say that pretty, without even thinking twice about it. So.
He didn't look like there was anything wrong with it. He was like, why? What's the matter? I'm like, God, I hope he wears button fly jeans. That's all I can say. I'm just going to leave that right there and let Richard go. Hey, Richard.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, thanks. I was going to actually ask about why hand tools, but I'm a bit scared to do that now after your previous comment. So you are predominantly at the hand tool kind of guy. I mean, I can see the mitre saw in the background behind you, and I've obviously seen you use power tools as well. But was it a conscious decision to go one way or the other, or did it just happen, or is there any reason for that? Or
it's just kind of my personality. I've always been, and I would call myself definitely like a hybrid woodworker. I enjoy doing the joinery and certain tasks with hand tools, but I do not enjoy dimensioning, like 100 board feet by hand. I don't like ripping a 10-foot board with a handsaw. That sucks. I don't like cutting a lot of scroll work by hand, So the bandsaw.
I so know what you mean there.
Yeah. So I rip a lot of stuff on the table saw. I will cut scroll work, curved work on the bandsaw, and if I have a lot of stuff that needs to be rough sawn lumber, I'll find a buddy that has a planer, but I usually will joint an edge by hand. I enjoy that. That's not too hard. But it's definitely been something that I've always kind of been just that way with everything I do. Like when I hunt deer and stuff like that, I use a longbow. I just kind of like the old school, traditional, kind of like more, I get, without sounding like snobby or anything, I think it's more rewarding and enjoyable to do it like a harder way for me. And I hate the way that sounds coming across.
No.
I know what you mean.
I think the analogy, because if you're hunting, and there's going to be a lot of people that are just not into hunting. But I grew up in a culture where I had a ton of friends and myself. I used to go hunting a lot. And there's a big difference between hunting with a longbow and hunting with a rifle.
There is.
Because you know what? It not only, yes, it's harder for you, but you know what you're doing? You're giving the animal a chance as well.
That's
and basically what you're doing with woodworking is you're doing the same thing. You're giving the wood a chance, and it's going to be up to you to make it right. And so I totally get the analogy. I really do. And I don't know a lot of people will, but I do. So you're good.
It must be hard to be James, right?
Right, we've got a question from out in the chat from Sterling Davis. He's put walnut, babinga, and maple. You have to drill one, sand one, plane one.
That's like the where you talk about women like marry, murder, that. Okay. What was the question again?
Walnut, babinga, or maple. You have to drill one, sand one, and plane one.
I would sand babinga because that's probably the hardest. Walnut is very enjoyable to work, so I would plane the walnut and I would drill the maple, just because. There you go. There's my very serious answer to it.
And I could so turn that into a disgusting thing, but I won't do it. But thanks for asking, Sterling. We appreciate the temptation.
Trying to bait us. We won't do it.
Keep telling you guys, don't take any more questions from Sterling.
And you know he's chuckling his ass off right now going,
yeah. That idiot actually answered it.
nothing but love, Sterling. Oh, no, that's awesome.
So I really want to ask you what plans you've got for the future, but before I get to that, where do you get most of your ideas? Do you have like a list of things that you need and then make, or do you just go, I don't need it, but I think it's going to be fun to do, so what the hell, I'll do it anyway? Or or is it kind of a mixture? Or
definitely a mixture. So I do have a list of things that I need, and that's kind of where some of my earlier projects come on. I needed a bookshelf for our baby's room to put the baby books on, so that's where but my wife's like, here's this to do, but I'm like, well, okay, I'll do it, but it's going to take me probably a month because I want to do it this way. I want to, do it really, really cool. I don't want to just throw a bookshelf together. I did a little side table for our baby's room because we had a little chair in there, so we needed a little side table. And I kind of drummed up this idea. And everything I kind of do, I try to, and I take a page from, like, a huge inspiration for me is Jimmy DiResta, because like almost everything I see him do, it's like just so creative. He's just a creative guy, and I love the fact, and I think that's why he does so good, because everything he does is like so unique. It's not just a standard thing, and he does it like almost every different type of creating. He does a lot of metal work and all that kind of stuff. So I like to, when I build something, I want it to be kind of special. So some of those planes that I made recently, I wanted some wooden planes, but I wanted to make them kind of unique, so I chose the woods that I did. And but I have a list a mile long. I'm constantly thinking, and usually when I'm really the most creative is when I'm laying in bed, those twilight hours before I go to bed. I'll come up with, oh man, that's a sweet idea. And in my phone, I have a notes thing, and I have like a list a mile long. Right now, I have several kind of commission jobs that I've been kind of working on, and I'm trying to balance, because this is so much work, as you guys know, trying to make some money and make it worth it, make the wife happy, bring a little income in. So I'm taking a couple commission jobs, and the more popular I've become, more and more people are kind of approaching me and say, hey, can you do this for me? So I'm trying to juggle doing these things that I think will be really interesting for YouTube, and also some commission jobs as too, and also like sleep at night, like Alan said. So I don't know. Yeah, just coming out of my head or necessity, either one.
I think
we've got another question from over in the chat room from Sean from SE Woodwork. He said, Chris, what was your favorite project to make, and do you try to make each new project better than the one before?
I absolutely try to make everything better, and I also try to make the videos better each time too. And if you watch even just back in July, that Japanese one and some of the Japanese bookshelf, I definitely feel like I don't know what other people's opinions are, have gotten a lot better at kind of the videography. So I'm really always trying to produce a good video for everyone, and I definitely try to always produce better projects. I'm always trying to make improve my technique. Like these mallet videos I just did last, I incorporated brass. That's the first time I've ever messed with brass. But looking at Blue Spruce Toolworks, they have a carving mallet, and it has a little piece of brass between the head and the handle. I was like, God, that looks awesome. I gotta do that with my mallet video. And so well, read that question again.
No. Well, I'm gonna go back and I'll do it for you. I'm gonna assume his because his question was what was your favorite video
okay,
so far. I'm going to assume that it's probably if it's the standard answer that I'm expecting from you, it's going to be you're going to say the last one you just friggin' did. But yeah, I mean, but I mean, if that's not the answer, then what is it?
Boy, the favorite, like my favorite project. I don't know. I honestly really do like a lot of them because I'm really proud of. That marblewood hand plane, I think that turned out beautifully. Those mallets turned out beautifully. I'm proud of that. Even though that little side table, if you guys have seen that, I'm proud because I thought up that type of joinery kind of just in my head, and I hadn't seen that anywhere. It's kind of a weird. I mean, I don't know if it's even practical. But it's
no, man. I love that table. But let me ask you. Let me take it from this angle then. After you've accumulated, because I mean, I you know, and to be honest with you, Chris, I didn't, I'm not anal enough to have sat back and counted how many videos you've actually put up on YouTube, and it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. But here's the question I want to ask, because it's, well, I'll get to that in a second. Are there any videos that you have done in the past that, knowing what you know now, you would like to go back and actually forget that one happened and then redo it?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, me too. About half of mine.
I want to redo those truck bed drawers because, like I said, they have like a few 100,000 views on it, and they're atrocious. They're god awful. But I don't want to take them down because I've also read that like it's good for people to see where you started in your progress. Like I think a lot of people like that and see just how bad you were when you first started.
Makes them feel more human, right?
Yeah. I mean, those are bad videos. And honestly, the how to square up a combination square, just a lot of my early ones. What were some of the other ones that I did early on? I only have like 30 total videos, and yeah, a lot of the early ones I'm embarrassed. Oh, my bench, my workbench, which is like my pride and joy. I was not doing YouTube at the time, so I didn't film the build, but when I did it, I mean, the woodworking benches were like going crazy on YouTube all over the place. You remember probably 3 or 4 months ago, they were just, everybody and their brother had a woodworking bench. And this bench is really unique and cool because it's a unique style that I haven't seen anywhere else. It's like half Roubeau, and on the other side, it's like a Nicholson style bench. And I hadn't seen anybody actually hybrid them together. So I made a 2-part, it was like 40 total minutes of me talking about it and talking about workbenches, and it's from my like GoPro across the other side of the, you can't even hear me. It's just embarrassing.
We've got another question from Steve Waddell from Temple Boy Turnings. He said, what projects does Chris prefer, flat work, carving, and is there any other woodworking he wants to try out?
Well, on my last mallet video, I did wood turning for the first time. If anybody has seen that, was a lot of fun, a absolute lot of fun. I can definitely see the draw to that and how people say it's very, very addicting. I don't think I'll, go into that because I like doing like more three-dimensional furniture, and you're limited to certain things with just turning. I know a lot of people are just turners and they do bowls and all that really beautiful things. I prefer probably, I guess, flat work. I prefer actually doing like joinery. I really want to start dabbling and experimenting in all those really cool, fancy, like Japanese type joints out there. And I like to make my joinery a visual part of the build, so not just all mortise and tendons that are hidden. I kind of like them, if I can, to make it through, but tactfully, so it's not just obnoxious and like dovetails all over the place and things like that. So
no, I hear you. But if you're into Japanese joinery, then you're not gonna have a problem making that interesting, because some of those joints are not easy to make, but man, dude, they look cool and actually function really, really well. But man, you know what? God love you, because if you tackle that, I'll follow you, because I'm not quite sure I have the cojones to get into that. I mean, that's pretty. That's pretty.
I don't know how deep I'll get into that either. There's that one guy, that one channel. He does like a different Japanese joint it's not into a piece of furniture or whatever, but it's just like two pieces of wood, and he'll join them with just the craziest thing. And it's just got to take, I don't know if the Japanese actually use those in their construction, but it would take longer than the pyramids to build something if you got to spend like 5 days cutting each joint.
Mad.
I felt like that doing my scroll saw tigers.
Oh my God!
I felt like that doing my scroll saw Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, I guess the more you do it, the better you get at it, just like anything else. But that first initial step, boy, that's a doozy with that stuff. I'm telling you, it's like, oh my God.
We've got one more question from Plowsham Crafts. He said he might have missed it from earlier, but where did the name the third Coast Craftsman come from?
Oh, we didn't talk about that. That's a good question. A lot of people ask me that. So Michigan and the Great Lakes area is kind of synonymous for being in the United States as the third coast. So we have the East Coast and the West Coast, and the Great Lakes have more coastline than I think both of those put together. Michigan as a state has more coastline than any other state other than Alaska. So we have a ton of coastline. Now people kind of think about, they're lakes, they're not necessarily coastline, and that's, kind of traditionally true, but we have 1,000-foot freighters come through. They're small oceans, and that's something that's kind of like that people in Michigan are very proud of, is our Great Lakes. And I don't know, I was just kind of laying in bed, and I was like, God, I wish I need to come up with some kind of like name that's catchy or whatever. And there's actually a fly fishing company in Michigan, based out of Michigan, called Scientific Anglers, and they have a fly line called Third Coast Skagit, I think, and they do that because of Michigan and kind of like us here and the Great Lakes. So I was like, what, that's a good name, maybe Third Coast Craftsman. So kind of went with it. It's long, so it kind of has some limitations as far as like branding.
No, man, I absolutely love it. And Chris, if you'll allow me to embarrass my podcast mates for a moment, I'm going to ask them a trivia question, because I want to see if any of these guys know, because we're looking at two guys from the UK and one guy from Canada. And the guy from Canada should have a clue, but we'll find out.
Let's see.
Gentlemen, trivia question for you. And Chris, don't tell them, all right?
All right.
How many Great Lakes are there, guys? Do you know?
5.
Oh, Alan! I don't know.
Alan's from Ontario. He shares like 4 of the 5.
I know exactly what Chris is talking about, because I live on Lake Ontario. My entire life has lived across the coast of Lake Ontario, and it doesn't look any different to me than standing in Newfoundland looking out over the ocean, because I can't see the other side.
Alan, the only reason why I asked that question is because there's a ton of people out there that will go 3. And I'm going, no.
You think I can name them all?
I was just about to say 5, because that's the only one we can count on one hand.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to actually say 3, because I had no idea. So,
yeah.
Who can name them though?
Let me see. Chris, help me out, because I may get stuck on one. There is Superior, there is Michigan, there is Huron, there is Erie, and then there is Lake Ontario.
I just said it.
You got it. Yep.
Yeah.
Lake Ontario. So there you go. See, I passed my geography today.
Nice.
We all passed, except for Richard. He didn't pass.
Yeah. I'll pass on the question.
No, we all passed.
We got about 10 minutes left, Richard.
We have. Do you know? I was going to ask you, Chris, about the naming thing. So I'm glad Bob jumped in and did that.
Yeah.
But that only leaves me now with 2 questions. We've got. But Joe's not here, so right. We've already talked about where you get your. Yeah, I've got all night. Yeah, it's fine. That'll teach you, Joe. Talked about where you get your ideas from and whatnot, and you said you've got some commissions in the pipeline at the moment. But what plans for projects have you got in terms of either on YouTube or not on YouTube, but to do anyway, that you're happy to talk about? Any?
Oh, geez. Let me pull up my list real quick. Let's see if I can, because I can't really remember. I just
This is purely for like stealing your ideas and trying to get it out before you do.
Oh yeah, that's why. That's definitely why.
Hey, Richard, at least you're honest, brother.
Why not?
I have not got a pen in my hand. Figure of your imagination.
Geez,
You
one
guys
thing,
are hard.
man, I am hesitant to tell these now because
I don't blame you.
There's some gems in here.
Yeah, well, just tell him you're making
just
the ball.
kind of generic around it then.
I'll tell you one because I don't know if when I'll get to it, but it's another hand plane video. But I was going to carve, so like I was going to carve it so that it's like a man, like a man's face, and the wood chips spew out like he's puking wood chips.
Oh,
That's
Kind
cool.
of like as a fun like carving one. It won't be real exotic woods or anything, but with the hand, you got that big open mouth. It would just be perfect. And then like the hand, the shape coming out, wood puke or whatever. Maybe make the guy look like he's vomiting. If I like.
That's a great idea.
We'll see.
I'm glad you said hand plane because actually I've kind of got an idea at the moment, and I've got a few bits of materials kicking around that I've managed to accrue in the last few months to do at least one hand plane type video. So that should be.
Oh yeah, what's it gonna be? What's it gonna be about?
About a guy throwing up wood chips because.
Well, I was thinking if I made it into like somebody's face, and
We're all gonna make that video now.
no, I really want to make a shoulder plane, and
Nice.
and that was actually one of your first videos that I found because of going down the whole hand plane rabbit hole. But yeah, so that's one of them. And then the last question that I had to ask you, unless anyone else has got to dive in because Joe's not here, and if you've got another question,
No, go.
was who do you watch on YouTube? Where do you kind of go for
like my favorite kind of channels?
Well, whether it's a favorite channel or information or who sticks out in your mind.
A bunch. I mean, is it okay to ramble on a few names?
Yeah, Joe's at home. He doesn't even know.
So for sure, like I mentioned earlier, like Jimmy Dirista, because he's so, he's just not making. I'm not a big fan of like a lot of modern furniture, and they're like a lot of the big woodworking guys I see do a lot of modern stuff, and it's like a huge draw right now. I wish I was into the modern genre because I think that's a really popular. A lot of people really like the modern stuff, and. But I like Jimmy Dirista a ton. Alex Steele is, I don't know if you guys have, he's a different genre from us with blacksmithing, but God, he makes just awesome videos. Like his videography and his editing, like that's how I kind of try. I'm not even close to him. And I try to he's my inspiration on how I kind of try to want to film. I'm not even close. I don't even know how he does half the stuff he does, but I love watching Alex Steele videos all the time. There's a lot of smaller channels like us that I like watching a lot lately. There's a really new channel called DN Handcrafted, and that kid's got some major talent. I shouldn't call him a kid. He's got some major talent in filming and does a good job. There's a guy that lives close to me, and he has a channel called Fisher Shop. He's awesome. He's really has a lot of comedy in his videos, like a lot of really funny dry humor. I'm just like laughing the whole time I'm watching his videos. I've recently come in contact with a couple guys like Hand Tool Rescue and Woodwork Life, and you can make this too. All these three guys all have good channels.
You said Hand Tool Rescue, and what's the other channel?
Oh, I'm sorry. Hand Tool Rescue, Woodwork Life.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. And then, like, the typical, like when I was learning all this stuff and when I kind of decided to just try and do YouTube, I watched a lot of Jay Bates stuff at first. I watched a lot of Wrangler Star. I still do. I like Wrangler Star a lot. Paul Sellers,
So you're pretty much the gambit. I mean, you like the established, you like the up and coming, and then you like then you get into what interests you. Like Paul, I would imagine Paul Sellers is probably you're probably a big fan of Paul, because I mean he does a lot of stuff that along the lines of what you kind of sort of do.
Yeah, he's definitely like the one of the authorities, I feel like, in kind of hand tool work. And I was talking to Alan a little bit earlier about kind of what my direction might be, and I'm hesitant about doing technique type videos, like how to do this. I have done a couple, and I probably will do a couple, but I'm not like that authority. I don't have 45 years of hand tool experience to be able to say, yeah, I know what I'm doing, and you should
That's a big shadow to find yourself cast underneath, isn't it?
For
Someone
sure.
like Paul Sellers. And
Yeah.
Well, Chris, the only advice I can give you to that is I understand where you're coming from, 120%. Where I don't feel like I'm the authority on anything, but I do know there are guys out there that are looking to learn things that you probably know a little bit more than they do about, and then you can help them along the way.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I kind of equate it to like this, Chris, and I don't know if this will make sense to you. When you go to school, you go to kindergarten, then you go to elementary school, you go to middle school, you got high school, then you go to college, and then you possibly get your somewhere in the line, you're going to become one of those teachers. Now, whether you want to be a middle school teacher, and that's what you're comfortable with, because there's people that need to learn that, and then you pass that audience off over to a high school teacher, then look at it that way.
That's a great analogy, for sure.
Just know that the information you throw out there is going to help somebody, and if that's what you're intending to do, then by all means, don't be afraid to do it.
That's really good advice, and that makes me look at it in a different way, for sure. So I might start doing a little bit more. I wish I was more articulate in my explanation of things. That's another, I'm just not
Well, Chris, I can't imagine that. I mean, we've been sitting here talking for an hour, and you are one of the most articulate guests we've had on. So if you just be yourself in video, you've got nothing to worry about.
Well, if you guys probably can appreciate this too, I'm talking to somebody in front of you rather than talking to that camera. I don't know if you guys have a problem with that, but when I try to talk to the camera and nobody else is there, I gotta do 10, 15 takes just to do, hey everyone, I'm Chris, this is my shop partner Oots, and today we're gonna build some mouths. I'll screw that up 20 times.
Well, you know what?
You're not alone.
It's hard.
I don't want to get into this too much, but I'm just going to tell you, I'll give you some quick advice, because I know we got to wrap this thing up. Then, Chris, do yourself a favor. Quit talking to the camera. Put a pitch. Here's a trick I used to give my DJs when they were new on the air and they would get nervous because they were in front of a microphone. Same way you're getting nervous in front of a camera. Tape a picture of your best friend hanging down just below the lens of the camera. Okay. Then focus on that picture of your best friend and talk to him and do the video.
Also, talk for 10 minutes before you even hit record.
Yeah, okay. But talk to your friend. Don't talk to a bunch of people. Talk to one person. Make it a good friend, and talk to that person the way you normally would talk to them. And you're going to find you all of a sudden naturally being yourself. You're naturally comfortable, and you're going to go, "This is easy." Trust me.
Good advice. I'll try it.
It takes some work. It takes some practice, but you need to get yourself in that mindset. You'll get it on. Man, you rock. I love you. Anyway, go ahead, Richard. We're good.
Appreciate it.
Well, I'm now completely out of questions, and I certainly don't have any good advice like Chris has about things like that. So, has anyone else got any questions? Otherwise, we can move on to, what we're working on and who we are watching. Everyone's shaking. Moving on. So, okay, Alan, who are you watching, and what are you working on? You've been very quiet.
I have not been quiet. Dare you, Richard? I have been working on a Batman shelf for my living room since yesterday, but I know, big surprise, right?
What a surprise!
But I want to actually leave that till next week because it's going to lead into my shout out next week. This week I wanted to shout out Steve Twaddell from Temple Boy Turnings, and not so much because I like him all that much, but because because Mike Atkinson told me to. He's a big listener of ours, and he's become a friend of mine recently. And I actually didn't have a shout out, and I was just chatting with him. I was like, "Buddy, what's your favorite channel?" And he was like, "Temple Boy, without a doubt." And I was like, "All right, that's my shout out." And I do love the channel too. So let's get him in the lineup and get a link in there for him.
But it's not because we like him too much.
No, I don't like him. Not personally. I just like his videos. So. He's actually kind of an asshole.
Yeah, in case you're curious, we're joking. Steve's a great guy.
Steve knows.
And that's why we had him on. So
Exactly.
Yeah. Or you could look at it as we had him on, and that's how we know. But we're not going to go there. So, Chris, what are you working on? Anything? And watching anyone?
Well, I'm finishing up a video that I did with my son. I had the opportunity to have my son in the shop, so I've got a video coming out sometime this week called Father and Son Shop Time, where he and I built something for his mother, which was a total win-win. And because I got spent some time with my kid in the shop. We got to make something together, and it ended up being for his mom, and she was happy. And the third one on top of that is it's going to go into the TMA Toolmasters Association build-off this month because it was a box. So,
so that means you finally finished something.
Yeah, exactly. And so I killed 3 birds with 1 stone this time. So I'm very happy about that. Who I've been watching, and speaking of the Toolmasters Association, one of the vendors there is BP Way, and the gentleman who owns that is Brian Way, and he put out a video earlier this week, and I'm telling you, it might help some folks out because a lot of us do shopping for old tools just because they're cheaper and they're more affordable on Craigslist. But we find ourselves in predicaments because we have to refinish these tools, or to basically to bring them back to workable condition. And he did an excellent video on rust removal and rust products that are available out there to you publicly. And he took on old wives' tales. He took on tried and true, and then he went out and bought a whole bunch of different types of products, and he used each one on the equal amount of rust, and I think he really used railroad spikes in order to do this, to do this comparison. And he shows you what he feels is the best method for removing rust. So, and I just thought that would, and Brian, I just thought explained it really well, and he went through the process because a lot of us have been in the position of having to refurbish tools before, and taking rust off is a real issue. So this may help you out. If you have a chance to go check it out, it's Brian Way, and the video was regarding him taking it's a rust removal product comparison. So it's more of a helpful thing than anything else, but it's worth watching if that's what you're into.
Yeah, and those railroad spikes, railway sleeper pin things, they get properly rusted. I've used those in a project before, and they get properly rusted up. I mean, that's like takes a plane rusted to a whole new level.
Yeah, they get blistered. They get so rusted. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so if you have a chance, check that out because it's good information no matter what. Cool.
And Chris, are you and Oots working on a project right now that we're waiting to?
Yep. That
release of video slash
that sign I was telling you about. Let's see here. I know everybody's listening, but maybe you can see it right there.
Wow, that is a sign and a half.
It's gonna be. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. So hopefully, my friend over there at Pine Hill likes it as well. And then after that, I have a big, huge oak trestle table. So it'll be with breadboard ends and stuff like that. So that's I'm gonna try. I'll probably end up having like 3 or 4 videos out of that build. So
excellent. To look forward to that. I haven't seen the videos, but I've got some videos that I'm aware of yours with the drawboarding and things like that to watch as well. It's just for some other little idea, but excellent. I left you to last because you've been mean to me this week, Jamie. Not that I'm
next week now, just for that.
Not that I'm particularly interested, but there might be 1 or 2 people potentially out there at some point in time wants to know what you're up to. So, what are you watching and working on at the moment?
Well, what am I working on? I'm about quarter of the way through the Queen's Head at the moment.
Excuse me? I'm sorry. You want to repeat that? You want to
murder the Queen? Moving her head.
I've been doing some Queen during the day.
Oh wow!
She sleeps at night.
So Freddie Mercury or the other one?
Yeah, she sleeps at night.
Jamie, if the door knocks, it's MI5. Look into the.
Yeah, they don't like me drilling the Queen.
And now this podcast is on the terrorist list.
And that's how I'm going to just quickly knock out for Richard.
Jeez, that's a lot of work.
You see, he's not even a scroller, and he knows my pain.
Just to shut up, just to shut him up. And what am I watching? Right, I'm watching John from the Woodworking Shed. Now, firstly, I'm shouting him out because he's just reached 500 subscribers. So congratulations to John for that.
All right, John, way to go.
And secondly, he is also, as well as us, just reached a 1 year milestone. It's 1 year since he first started turning, or a year since he first turned on his lathe. So yeah, he's and I'll tell you what, a year since he from where he first started on, he's really brought out some beautiful pieces. So yeah, John from the Woodworking Shed.
Awesome.
All right. And while the spotlight is on me again,
oh God,
I just want to remind everybody that the man crafting mug competition, to go over to makersinternationalpodcast.com to win it.
Oh yeah, we got the giveaway. Yeah, absolutely, for a celebration for our 1 year anniversary, and also because Chad happens to be an awesome individual and has decided to give one of those away.
Also on Facebook.
Awesome, and if you're listening on SoundCloud or iTunes when this comes out, all the links will be down below in the description. So please take a look at those and get yourself entered. And we're going to be announcing the winner next week.
Yes, that's right. Yep,
Awesome.
It ends Saturday.
So you have from now until Saturday to get involved. All right, awesome.
Yep.
Thanks, Jim.
Good stuff. We'll make sure that link is as easy to find as possible, because I hate searching through websites for little links on things. So we'll make sure it's as simple as us. What have I been working on? Finally managed to deliver Satan's sock drawers back to their owners, which is a good thing because the project was doing my head in. Some idiot challenged me to a scroll saw thing, and I've been playing around with that, so I'm a little bit
damn you, Alan.
I'm kind of a bit sensitive at the moment and melancholy as a result. Because of that, I had to get the router out, and for anyone that's still watching us live, I did a little Jamie thing with the router.
Is that's Jamie?
Yes, it's Jamie.
Richard
Hello.
Richard routed a picture of Jamie on a piece of wood. So if
he wants a picture of me next to his bed, then it's up to him.
So, well, I'm just trying to let the people who can't see it know that yes, it is as ugly as it sounds.
There is a picture on most of my social medias if you're that way inclined or that interested. But
I think he just got caught on the wood and it just went.
Perfect likeness, then.
Yeah,
exactly.
Just another mistake associated with Jamie. Anyways, who have I been watching? I don't know if you guys have seen this. Izzy Swan put out a video very recently with some corian that he was thermoforming and whatnot.
Yeah.
And it was quite a quick video, quite a simple kind of idea, but it got my brain working on some other things. So I'm going to shout out that video purely from the point of view of it wasn't so much the actual video, it was the kind of doors in my mind that it opened. So that's a hot tip for anyone watching YouTube videos.
Yeah, is it good at that?
Yes, absolutely. You that sums it up. Very well put there, Chris. I think that pretty much wraps up this evening's show. Chris, not Chris, the new Chris, not old Chris. And I didn't mean age, I meant like Chris that's always here.
So, which Chris?
you, Chris.
Okay.
Chris
Richard,
Andrews.
it's not like I'm overly sensitive, man. I mean, it's okay. Chris, go right ahead.
Do you know what? It's been awesome having you on, and I think Joe is going to be gutted that he didn't get to sit and chat you, because I know you'd have had as much amusement and fun as I have this evening. So thanks so much for coming on, and hopefully you'll stick around for a wee while after the show for a quick chat.
Yeah, so, thank you so much, guys. This has been a blast. I really appreciate the opportunity. You guys are great, So thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Where should everyone go to find you on all the YouTube, social medias, and stuff like that?
I have the YouTube, Third Coast Craftsman. I have Instagram. I've just recently gotten on there, and I'm just floored with how amazing the community is there. And Facebook. So Third Coast Craftsman on all three of those, and you shouldn't have too much trouble finding me.
Excellent. Well, make sure if you are still listening, then go and check out some of Chris's work, because seriously, there is some cool stuff on there to get your head going around some ideas of your own. Normally we all plug our own channels now, but everyone knows after a year, I think, where they can find us by now. If they don't know, they can just head to makersinternationalpodcast.com, and we're all over the internet. So we've run over a little bit.
You can't find us on makercentral.co.uk though.
Oh, Jesus
You
Christ.
just can't help yourself, can you?
Alan, this is like an addiction with him. Would you send him a vaping machine or something? I mean,
Wicked. Well, I hope everyone has a fantastic week. I've been Rick Morley, and as I say, you can find us all at makersinternationalpodcast.com. So join us again next week. See you later.
have a great week, everybody.
See you later, everybody.
Have a week.